All right, let's talk about the pursuit of perfection and how sometimes that pursuit can be, well, fatal. We're diving into Nathaniel Hawthorne's classic short story, The Birthmark, a seriously powerful and haunting tale about this very idea. So what's this story really about when you get right down to it? Well, at its heart, it's this huge collision, right? You've got two powerful forces. On one side, Aylmer's obsessive devotion to science, and on the other, his love for his wife, Georgiana. The whole tragedy kicks off when he decides to use his science to perfect his love. Yeah, this really nails the tragedy of it all. You have this brilliant scientist, Aylmer, who gets completely fixated on his wife Georgiana's one tiny flaw, this little birthmark. His mission to get rid of it just spirals out of control into a full-blown obsession, and it actually ends up costing her life. It's a huge, flashing warning sign, about what happens when you sacrifice something real and human for some impossible, perfect ideal. Okay, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the plot, there are a few words we need to touch on. To really feel the emotional weight of this story, all the tension and the dread, you kind of need to know the language it's built on. So let's take a quick look. Okay, so here they are. We've got birthmark, desperate, nightmare, reluctant, shiver, faint, seclude, frustration, potion, subject to, miraculous, and fade. Words like desperate, nightmare, and reluctant are absolutely key here. They're not just random words on a list. They're literally the building blocks of the whole story's mood. They show you just how the characters are spiraling down into this fateful experiment. All right, you've got the vocabulary, you've got the core idea. Now let's follow the breadcrumbs. We're going to trace this story's path from a husband's simple fixation all the way to its tragic end. We'll go piece by piece and see exactly how this whole thing just unravels. Okay, so where does it all start? Well, like so many stories, it begins with a marriage. So here's the setup. We have Aylmer, a guy whose first true love was always science. Then he marries Georgiana, who is by all accounts beautiful, nearly perfect. And that one word, nearly, that's the whole problem right there. He just can't get past this one tiny hand-shaped birthmark on her cheek. For him, it becomes the symbol of every flaw, every imperfection that exists in the world. And from that point on, his fixation, it just starts to spiral. This is the real turning point. Aylmer's obsession gets so intense that it actually starts haunting his dreams. I mean, he has this nightmare where he's cutting the birthmark out only to find that it goes all the way down right to her heart. Now, you or I might see that as a giant flashing red light, a warning sign, right? But him, he sees it as a challenge. And when Georgiana sees how much this is torturing him, she makes a heartbreaking choice. She reluctantly agrees to let him try his experiment, basically putting his happiness above her own safety. And just like that, the experiment is on. So they lock themselves away in his laboratory. And this place has such a weird, unsettling vibe that Georgiana literally faints when she walks in. While she's waiting for him to get things ready, she starts reading his old scientific journals, and they're just full of his frustrations, all his past failures. But here's the twist. Instead of getting scared and running for the hills, it actually makes her love him even more. She's drawn to his stubborn, passionate drive, even when it fails. So the tension just keeps ratcheting up, leading to his final solution. Okay, so Georgiana feels this weird pull and follows him deeper into the lab, into his inner sanctum. And Aylmer's reaction? He just explodes. He's totally on edge, and he accuses her of not trusting him. But she calms him down, tells him she has absolute faith in him. And that's what he needed to hear. He finally shows her what he's been working on, the final product, this powerful potion that he's convinced is foolproof. And here we are, the moment of truth. First, to prove his potion actually works, Aylmer uses it on a sick, dying plant. And poof, it's miraculously healed. For Georgiana, that's all the proof she needs. She takes the potion, no hesitation, and then drifts off to sleep. And Aylmer just watches, filled with this incredible pride, as that little crimson hand on her cheek starts to fade away. In his mind, it's a total success. But as we're about to see, this scientific triumph comes with a terrible, terrible cost. And this is where the tragic irony just punches you in the gut. On the one hand, the triumph, the birthmark, that thing he saw as a symbol of imperfection is completely gone. He did it. He achieved his goal. But the cost? The cost was everything. Because as the mark vanishes, so does Georgiana's life. He managed to remove the flaw, but he didn't realize that the flaw was woven into the very fabric of her being. The story closes on this absolutely devastating line. Think about it. In his quest to make his wife perfect, he ended up losing her completely. So what's he left with? His perfect science, an empty room, and this just crushing weight of regret. Okay, so we've walked through the plot, we've seen how it all goes down. Now let's pull back and look at the full picture, because this story is about so much more than just a science experiment gone wrong. So let's start at the beginning, the obsession. At its core, this is a cautionary tale, right? Aylmer's scientific brain just cannot handle this one small natural flaw on his otherwise perfect wife. His fixation gets so bad it literally gives him nightmares about cutting into her heart, and it grows and grows until it completely overshadows his love for the real woman standing right in front of him. And Georgiana, she doesn't agree to this because she's vain. No way. It's an act of deep, self-sacrificing love. She agrees to this incredibly dangerous experiment just to make her husband happy, to ease his pain. And that right there sets the whole tragedy in motion, all because of his inability to see the beauty in imperfection. Then you have the secluded experiment. Locking themselves away in the lab really throws the main conflict into sharp relief. It's the arrogance of science versus the humility of nature. The lab is Aylmer's kingdom, where he thinks he can control and fix the natural world. And Georgiana, who basically represents that natural world, becomes his final ultimate project. What's so tragic is that even when she reads about all his past failures, her love for his ambition just gets stronger. She has this heartbreaking faith in his quest. And her unwavering trust is the last piece of the puzzle, the thing that lets his scientific pride run completely wild as he mixes up a potion to correct something that was never broken in the first place. And that brings us to the fatal success. The climax of the story is just soaked in devastating irony. I mean, technically, the experiment worked. The birthmark, his symbol of earthly imperfection, is gone. But in getting what he wanted, he destroyed the very life that imperfection was a part of. See, the potion didn't just take away the mark, it took away her humanity, her life force. So he gets his cold, perfect scientific ideal, and he's left completely and utterly alone. His chase for a flawless wife cost him the real, loving woman he already had, and now all he has is the terrible, crushing weight of his success. And all of this leaves us with a pretty big question. One that's just as real for us today as it was when this story was written. Think about it. When does that natural desire we all have to fix things, to improve them, to make them perfect, when does that cross a line and turn into a destructive obsession? When does it start to destroy the very thing we claim to love?
Join Beyond Norm Input-Output Training, the best way to master English speaking and writing in Taiwan.